Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our fifth installment of the Throwback here. Once again, it's a new week and it's time for once again another Throwback. It is Friday, May 15th, 2020, and here we are ready to give you guys another edition of us going back in time and talking about the good old days of pro wrestling, if you will. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I am not alone. As you all know by now, I am Steve. But like I said before, I am not alone. I'm here joined by the man with the golden charm, Detroit versus everybody, Big Mike from Big Mike's Wrestling Recap Show. Big Mike, what's up, man? What's the word, bro?
Yeah, what's going on? Can't wait to talk about this one.
Very, very extreme feeling about this one, right?
Yeah, super extreme,
super
right?
Extreme. So you think about this, right? We did WCW, we did a little bit of WWE, some TNA, right? We're going all over the place with this one. And this week, as you can tell by the photograph, if you're watching this on YouTube, we are talking about this week ECW's One Night Stand 2006. That's right. The ECW's One Night Stand 2006. The show went down on June 11th, 2006. Now, Mike, what was your overall take on the show? Watching it and stuff.
Watching it, I knew I wasn't going to get the same thing from '05. So going into it, it was like, all right, it's going to be good because you got some really good wrestlers on it. You got a mix of WWE and old ECW. So I was going in optimistic, and it turned out to be a good show.
I personally felt, for me at least, right? I don't know about you guys that are watching in the chat or listening, what have you, on the podcasting platforms. I always thought ECW One Night Stand 2005 was amazing, right? Everything about it was just fucking awesome, right? And when the news came out at the time, I remember at the time I was I was a freshman going into my sophomore, so I was already out of school, basically, right, for this. The news came out that, hey, they're gonna do it again, ECW One Night Stand. I'm like, wow, really? And it's like, why? Just why, if you will, right? And at the same time, you find out that, hey, WWE is bringing it back. They're gonna bring back ECW on a full-time base. So when you think about this, right, the build-up for One Night Stand occurred on both Raw and SmackDown, heading into the pay-per-view. But it build up behind the scenes. The build-up behind the scenes began several months earlier as WWE was bringing back ECW full-time. The news that WWE was planning to bring back ECW was leaked in the middle of April as Vince McMahon decided to revive ECW as a full-time brand. Reports beforehand stated that WWE was prepared to bring back ECW immediately after WrestleMania 22. WWE opted to cancel its webcast, Velocity, and replace it with the new ECW program. The new brand was officially confirmed by WWE on May 25th, 2006, with a debut show airing on June 13th, 2006 on the Sci-Fi channel. So this was basically on a Tuesday before SmackDown. So SmackDown at the time, in case you guys don't remember, before SmackDown Live was a thing, right? Before it was on the Fox network, it used to be pre-recorded on Tuesdays and aired on Fridays or Thursdays, whatever the fuck it was back then. So that's how it used to go down. So the ECW, which you saw, was live, basically, right? I think it was an hour show. And here's the thing about it. I think even then, like at the time, people were excited, I guess, those that at one time, you know, who grew up in the ECW time, they were happy in some extent. If they only knew at that time what ECW was going to become. If you will. That's the thing about it. And again, I loved 05 One Night Stand. If they would have left it at that, awesome. But for whatever
Yeah.
reason, again, they saw the success. And again, and I get it too. There was success in the first one, right? They were at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, which I've been there numerous times. A wrestling show at the Hammerstein Ballroom will always be amazing. Believe me, it'll just that something about that building, whether it's again an ECW show. I've been there for Ring of Honor numerous times. Hell, I was there last year for New Japan. Being in that building, just fucking amazing. It really, really is. Right? So they decided to bring it back. And this time it was going to be, you know, a mixture of some of the guys from Monday Night Raw and some of the guys from SmackDown and all that stuff. But it just didn't have that same oomph, if you will, from the first one, if you ask me. But other than that, I thought overall this show was pretty good. This show again took place at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, like I mentioned earlier, in Manhattan, New York. The attendance for the show is 2,460. But if you watch that show, bro, it felt like holy crap. Every seat was filled for that venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, though, it was an overall success. The only downfall I'll say, though, it was down from last year as far as the buy rate. So last year, the event drew about 325,000 orders, right? That was from the previous year, 05. Oh, 06, it went down to 280,000 people who ordered the event. But this show, again, had a little bit of everything, right? You had some of your traditional classic ECW. Every match, by the way, was Extreme Rules for the show. Every single match was like a hardcore themed. Yeah, again, like your mix of WWE guys. You had obviously the main event of Rob Van Dam and John Cena. Rob Van Dam finally cashing in the Money in the Bank, to what was going to be again the rebirth, if you will, of ECW. So there was that, Mike. Going into Mike, by the way, how old were you when this show took place? How old were you?
I was a month away from turning 11,
Oh.
and to add on that, because you was talking about that they used to show ECW then tape SmackDown. I went to one of those shows back in 2008 where they had ECW and SmackDown. And I believe the main event was Kane versus Big Show in Extreme Rules match. It was epic.
Really was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So again, you know, we go into the show. It opened up with Paul Heyman. Think about this last year, right? Not bad. The year prior. I feel like, again, we're now in 06. That's what I'm saying, last year. So in 05, let me correct myself. In 2005, right? The show opened up with Joey Styles, right? Being emotional. We started crying in tears and all that stuff, right? And in 2006, they opened up with Paul Heyman.
Right.
Paul Heyman, who's thanking the fan because, again, ECW is revived, right? What was their slogan, by the way, Mike?
It's not. He says better than Monday Night Raw. It's better than Friday Night SmackDown.
Something like that, yeah. But they had another one, like the era of Extreme is on the rise. Some show I forgot, dude. I totally forgot. But you kind of
I don't know, bro. I don't know about that.
You kind of get the gist, though, right? You all get the gist. But Paul Heyman here is thanking the fans, thanking every wrestler that wanted to be hardcore, not a superstar. Again, taking these jabs at WWE, even though at the end of the day, we already knew that ECW was being owned by WWE, right? It was a WWE produced show. Granted, it had that ECW feel, but it was produced by WWE at the end of the fucking day. And again, the people in this crowd just eating everything alive. Like, they were just losing their fucking mind. The crowd was, by the way, the MVP of the entire show. That crowd was the MVP. And I feel like, again, I've been there before. Because, again, I have. For Ring of Honor shows, bro, back in the day, those crowds were also rabid. That rabid fan base, right? The diehard wrestling hardcore fans. Or in this case, the smarky fans, if you will, right? The smarky, dorky fan base and shit, right? If you will, Mike. So that's what you had here. Everyone losing their fucking minds and shit. And again, overall, they made it fun. They made it fucking. That's why I will always say. And again, nothing against the West Coast, nothing against the Midwest, nothing against the South. But when it comes to pro wrestling, I think everyone can agree the Northeast is the mecca of pro wrestling. The Northeast, we run the shit when it comes to fan base and all that shit. That's what I'm trying to say right now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I'm pretty sure Detroit will be upset if they were to hear you say that right now. God damn, Mike.
No, not really. I think they'll agree too because y'all crazy.
Yeah, we are. We're insane, bro. We're fucking insane. Anyway, so that's how the show started, with Paul Heyman just thanking the crowd, being very emotional and all that stuff, right? The resurrection, this and that. And again, it didn't happen because of Vince McMahon. It happened because of you, the fans, right? And that's how it started. We had the first match on the show. We had the battle of the commentators, right? We had the ECW original Taz, who took on Raw commentator Jerry Lawler. Now, if you remember, Mike, weeks prior to this, a while ago, in 06, Joey Styles cut the shoe promo on Monday Night Raw.
Right.
Where he just went off, oh, he's not good enough to call. Apparently, Jim Ross took a spot at WrestleMania, took a spot at Backlash, and just, again, one of those things where, again, here's Joey Styles who's doing commentary on Raw, right? But at the same time, Jim Ross was being used for the pay-per-views and shit like that. And Joey Styles just had it, and he just went off. And they bring him back here on ECW. And Jerry Lawler goes to him and slaps the shit out of him, which was funny for what it was worth. They get in the ring, the bell rings, right? And right. Joey Styles gets in the ring, jumps on top of Lawler. Lawler gets him off, and then Taz locks in the Taz mission. And Lawler taps out. And again, it was fast. It needed to be fast, because Taz, let's be real about it, wasn't a spring chicken no more. This was an overweight Taz, who again he had injuries. He was no longer an active wrestler, but this was a good way to really get that crowd, I felt like, really energized, right? Yes, they were already energized as it was, but to just take it to a whole different perspective, if you will. Yes, let's beat up the WWE employee, right? That hates ECW. How many times have you heard Jerry Lawler refer to ECW as extremely crappy wrestling, right?
All right.
If you and again, in case you guys don't remember too, back in the day, like in '97, when ECW was invading Raw, Taz and Jerry Lawler would go at it.
Yeah.
So all that made sense here. And again, Taz won in 35 seconds. So this had to be quick. And that's it, and it was done. Awesome. I do think though, if you listen to Taz's theme song, I think it was dubbed on the network. I get the feeling.
I think the first year they dubbed everything for DVD release in 2005, and then they just gave everybody, what you heard on the network version is what everybody heard in the Hammerstein.
Fair enough. But there's that. Again, this had to be quick, over with. Got a good reaction. Again, Taz getting the win over Jerry Lawler. Mike, your thoughts on the match, bro?
Yeah, no bumps, just a Taz mission, and Joey Styles getting his revenge from getting pimp slapped.
Basically.
Yeah, so even last year's, One Night Stand.
Oh, 05.
Yeah.
The 05.
Yeah, the 05. Yeah, 05's One Night Stand. Taz didn't take a bump. He just choked out people.
Exactly. Kurt Angle, for that matter.
Yeah, Kurt Angle, who was on the squad this year, that year. So,
which was funny because we're gonna get into this match now. Kurt Angle versus, and like I said before, that match was 35 seconds. We had the second match on the show, Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton. That's funny because Kurt Angle here is on the ECW squad, right? Keep this in mind. Last year, Kurt Angle was part of the SmackDown Crusaders, if you will.
Right. Right.
alongside with JBL and Eric Bischoff and Edge, Carlito, all the guys that were against ECW, right? And what it stood for. And keep this in mind,
Right.
like if you remember, Kurt Angle, after he won the Olympics, right? Like after he won the gold medal, he was a guest on ECW, right? And it looked
Right.
like he was gonna go to ECW and all that, right? To pursue a pro wrestling career. But then you saw the whole crucifixion of Sandman. He's like, oh, I'm not doing this shit. Fuck that, right? And to think all that, and now here, right? In that very moment, he's part of the ECW brand, right? And they made him like this shoot style grappling machine. They basically made him a cyborg, right?
Yeah.
In this match. And again, the crowd here just throwing it to Randy Orton. Just literally, just everything in the fucking book. They're chanting, go fuck Cena, Orton's a homo, Orton can't wrestle, Orton swallowed. They're chanting, you can't wrestle, which is bullshit, boring, and all that. But basically, this entire match is Angle having his way with Randy Orton. When you think about it, just having his way with him, right? And all the grappling, the German suplexes, the locks that he was locking. Yeah, granted, Orton had some moments too. Don't get me wrong. Because you just couldn't do that to Randy Orton. You really, really couldn't. And at the same time, like you mentioned earlier, right? This show had a mixture of almost every single talent. At the same time, too, it's kind of weird to see, or to a division, right? Of seeing someone like a Randy Orton, or hell, even a John Cena wrestling at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Or hell,
Right.
even a Kurt Angle for that matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't fit that criteria. They didn't fit that whole thing, if you will. For me, at least. Now, granted, at the same time, too, I could have sworn years ago this was not the second match on the show. I could have sworn.
No, this was the second match, I believe. I think I remember watching this or watching it on DVD. I think this is the second match. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's moments in the match, bro, where Angle's like, you know what? Fuck this. I want you to lock me in a headlock. Like he
Yeah.
gave his head and he tried to apply it like the headlock, and Angle just take him, like get the hold release and shit, like bro, like it was nothing. It's not selling shit. And then obviously Angle won with the ankle lock, or attempted the RKO, but Angle countered it, locking in the ankle lock. And then he did that thing that he does, like he did like later in his career, when he locked in the ankle lock, and then he would just lay down and wrap his legs around the opponent's leg as he applying the hold and shit.
Right.
Like when he does that, it's over. Like you just know whenever Angle does that, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, he does the ankle lock and then he
Drops.
he drops and crosses his legs so you won't get anywhere.
When he does that, bro, you just know it's over.
Yeah, yeah.
You're fucked. When he does
Right.
that, like I'm sorry, you are fucked. I'm sorry. No, there's no way. It's no ifs ands about it. You are fucked. Good luck. Good luck trying to get out of that hold. You are
Yeah.
gonna need it. You know, just like I guess in a way in WWE Charlotte, right? Where she locks in the figure eight, right? Or the figure four. When she puts her arms up to the figure eight, you know it's over.
Right.
You just know it. And I know, why we're mentioning that here, but it's true though. You know what I mean? That's just the bottom line about it.
Yeah.
And again, this for what it was, just a shoot style match, or just having his way with Orton. This match went about 15 minutes and 7 seconds. But I'll say this too. You know, I did enjoy Angle's theme song here. That remix. That's my favorite Angle theme song. To be honest,
this was my favorite Angle. Period.
But at the
Wrestling machine.
but at the
Angle?
same time, though, can I be honest with you, though, bro? And I know if you feel the same way. I know you guys listening right now feel the same way. I just felt that Angle here was not gonna last in ECW.
No.
Like, nah, I was not convinced that this was Angle's new home. No, it was not. As a matter of fact, I don't even think Angle wrestled another pay-per-view after this. I think after he got released, right? Did he?
Yeah, I think shortly after this he
I
got
could be wrong on that.
released.
I could be wrong.
Because this is '06. When did he show up to TNA? It was a pay per view.
Let me find out here.
Because the pay per view was in Detroit.
I want to find out about this one. But I'm curious though. Like I could have sworn this was Kurt Angle's release. This was like done, right? I think this was basically it in August. I assume it was, but still, I want to believe that this was like, I guess, Angle's final pay-per-view in WWE. I know he did have some matches in ECW, right? He did have some matches in ECW under this whole ECW promotion stuff, but I do think though, just in a little bit he was just gone almost. But again, at the same time, I just didn't feel like this was his home. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like almost an NXT. You see Finn Balor back on NXT, and that's awesome. Hey, he's having these killer matches at the same time, but at the same time as well, I just don't think that he's gonna be there full time. Like, why is he there now full time? You know what I mean?
I mean, I consider Finn Balor's, you know, as NXT as his home.
You know what I mean? But that's that. Okay. But that was that, and then we get to the next match. We get the full-blooded talents of Little Guido, Maritado, as we all know as Nunzio, and Tony Mamaluke versus Super Crazy and Tajiri, who is known here as Yujiro Tajiri.
Right.
Yushiro Tajiri here, right? This match honestly was a short match. It didn't really go long. It just felt like, honestly, dude, it felt like a cruiserweight match almost.
Yeah.
Everyone getting their spots in. And that was it basically, right? After Guido propelled Crazy into the crowd, Guido and Mamaluke executed the Muscle Buster on Tajiri for the victory, right? And after the contest was over with, Big Show entered the ring, executed the Cobra Clutch backbreaker, which was going to be his finisher in ECW, on Mamaluke, and kicked the FBI's enforcer, Big Guido, in the head. So that was a way, honestly. Okay, let's do this match real quick. But the real prize here is Big Show's going to come out, who is also the newest member of ECW, right?
Right.
And let's just showcase his ability. And the fact that now he has another move. A new finisher, the Cobra Clutch backbreaker, whatever the fuck that was, that he did in ECW. That was it. That's what it felt like for me. Mike, what about you?
Yeah. Yeah, this match was whatever. It was good to see Tajiri because wasn't this like a one-off, like how the Dudleys were in '05?
I think so, yeah. I believe so. But at the same time, though, again, the idea was, hey, they're reviving ECW full time. He could have been part of that roster.
Right. But yeah, the match was whatever. Big Show coming out, turning heel and face the week prior is the norm, so that wasn't much of a shocker. But yeah, it was cool to see Big Show come out and show off that move. Because I remember when he used to do that move, I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat move for him. You know, it's pretty big. You don't want to take that from that type of guy.
Facts, bro. Absolutely. Absolutely. From there, we get JBL, who remember in '05, at One Night Stand '05, he was part of that Crusader, right? And he made a surprise appearance here, cutting a promo. Just over a week earlier, he announced on his radio show that he was not going to return to professional wrestling. JBL recalled his legitimate assault, that he legitimately assault on the Blue Meanie from One Night Stand '05, and referred to himself as King of Hardcore. And he also announced that he was replacing Taz as the color commentator of SmackDown. So that's when it all started, Mike. That's when it all began, of JBL and look here, Mago. Look here, if you will.
Yeah.
The beginning of it, which is fine. Again, you want this crowd to be riled up. You want this crowd to be pissed off, excited, and shit. Bringing in JBL for this, very well done. But Mike, I didn't ask you though. What was your thoughts on the full-blooded Italian steel match, bro?
Oh, you did. You did ask me that.
Bro,
I
again, I'm
gave you.
sorry. I'm just having a fucking brain fart right now. Ball again. I'm having a crazy week. Okay, I just went back to work, my second job, and all this stuff is going crazy. Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Okay, let's move on. But your thoughts? Okay, anything on JBL here coming here to announce that he's the new commentator of SmackDown and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that, return version of JBL as the commentator. That was my favorite version until he became a political puppet for Vince McMahon. But yeah, I thought it was fine. He was one of my favorite characters, period, back in the Ruthless Aggression. I like JBL a lot.
Facts, bro. Absolutely. I was always a fan of JBL. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
I always kind of was. Anyway, moving on here, we go to Rey Mysterio versus Sabu in the Extreme Rules match with the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. So Rey Mysterio here was the world champion, remember at WrestleMania, he beat Randy Orton and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 22. So he was still on his run as champion, right? And the match started with several chair shots from both competitors. Sabu had the upper hand for most of this match, executing an Arabian facebuster and a triple jump moonsault. But Mysterio kicked out of both moves. Mysterio regained the upper hand as he executed a seated senton that sent both men through a table at ringside. Sabu countered a second seated senton attempt and put Mysterio on a second table at ringside. Sabu proceeded to execute a triple jump moonsault splash, but Mysterio made it to his feet while on the table, right? And this turned the move into a DDT, sending both men through the table at ringside. Although neither men were legitimately hurt, Dr. Ferdinand Rios came out and kayfabe declared the match could not continue. That meant that Rey Mysterio retained the World Heavyweight Championship. Not a way I would have ended this match. Because again, you think about this, right? This is ECW. You don't stop a match, right? You know what it reminded me of? Now looking back, hindsight, if you will, Hell in a Cell 2019. Remember Seth Rollins and The Fiend, right? And
Yeah.
The Fiend, again, Rollins was literally trying to hit The Fiend with all these weapons and shit, and then one hammer shot, and they stopped the Hell in a Cell match. The referee
Right.
stoppage in a Hell in a Cell. Like, you don't do that here, in my opinion.
Right.
At the
Right.
same time, Mysterio is the world champion. At the same time, a lot of people, as we know, weren't really buying his run as champion, right? They weren't buying it.
Right. Yeah, because it was just off of
Eddie
They were
Death.
3 months. Yeah, they were 3 months removed from 22, and people didn't buy it at 22, and then people didn't really buy it when he won the Royal Rumble that year as well.
Exactly. And then here we go. We're here, and he can't even beat Sabu. He can't even
Yeah.
beat Sabu. So there was that. The match went about in 9 minutes and 10 seconds. So there was that. From there, we go to the Extreme Rules hardcore, Extreme Rules multi-person tag match, intergender it became, right? Edge and McFoley versus Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk. So basically, the build-up here is at WrestleMania 22, Edge beat McFoley, right? And they're gonna have a rematch on an episode of Raw. And then they added Tommy Dreamer. That's where McFoley turned heel, attacking Dreamer, and then with Edge. And this whole thing where, hey, Edge and Mick Foley were co-holders of the Hardcore Championship.
All right.
And they hate, and again, it's like, ECW is the past, this and whatnot. And here we go. We have the match. It's Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk. Terry Funk, as you all know, a hardcore legend in his own right. So is Tommy Dreamer, right? So I thought overall this was a very, very fun match, Mike, in my opinion, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, before the match even began, right? Edge and McFoley entered the ring, accompanied by Lita. And Dreamer and Funk entered the ring, accompanied by Beulah McGillicuddy, who we all know is the real-life wife of Tommy Dreamer, and which turned into a hardcore six-person tag match. And it's very crazy because Lita's appearance at the event was received very negatively with the crowd chanting, "You're a crack whore. She got herpes," at her. And during the match, Funk was taken backstage halfway through the match as Foley wrapped barbed wire around his fist and raked it across his forehead in the eyes of Funk. So during the match, you hear Funk just screaming, "My eye, my eye, my eye." Not the same way Rey Mysterio did this past Monday on Raw, if you will. Right. And then for a moment, Dreamer's by himself in this match, right? And just Foley and Edge is having their way with Tommy Dreamer. And I keep this in mind, Beulah McGillicuddy and Lita, they're both in their respective tag corner. But all this is going down, right?
Right.
And then out of nowhere, a few minutes later, a bandaged Terry Funk returns, hitting Edge and Foley with a barbed wire bat. Funk then set the bat on fire and left it at ringside. Funk hit Foley, and Foley fell onto a barbed wire board. Foley's shirt was on fire and was put out by a ringside attendant. Dreamer and Funk got the upper hand, and after Dreamer DDT'd Edge, Dreamer then locked a modified crossface onto Edge using barbed wire against Edge's face. Lita broke the hold, only to have Dreamer give her the Dreamer driver. Edge blindsided Dreamer, wrapped the barbed wire around his head before dropping him with the inverted DDT. McGillicuddy entered the ring to check on Dreamer, but Edge speared McGillicuddy and pinned her with a cover that resembled the legs up version of the missionary position. This was amazing. I love this. This was about 18 minutes and 45 seconds. Just everything you can imagine in a hardcore match. In this case, you added the women. And again, this crowd did not give a fuck.
No.
They did not give a fuck, bro. Holy shit, man. Mike, your thoughts on the match, bro? Help me out here, bro.
Dude, man, this match was bloody, ruthless, crazy. Crowd didn't care. Like, oh, it just was like Terry Funk, man. How old was Terry Funk? Like in his late 60s?
He was old as shit. Let's just be real about it. He was old as shit. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, if you will.
Dude, man, that dude took a lot of abuse in this match.
He really, really did, man. Absolutely. Let's see here, right? Oh, Terry Funk. Let's see. He's 75 years old now, so you got to factor in. In 06, he was probably like in his
50s, yeah.
Yeah, around there, but still, dude. That dude at that age was still going, bro. Crazy.
Oh, man. He's still going. He's still retired.
I know. Crazy, Reese. He's still going and shit. At age 75. Holy crap. I hope, honestly, I have that ability to still keep on going at 75 years old, bro. If you know what I mean. This is where this is where a Blue Chew advertisement would really come in handy right now. But we're not sponsored by Blue Chew. Not just yet.
Right.
Holy shit. Right. Can you imagine? That'd be sad, right? Can you imagine a couple of guys that are in their 20s and about to be 30s sponsoring Blue Chew? I don't think that would work. I don't think that would work. When I think of people promoting Blue Chew, I feel like, you think about it, and I see these podcasters, right, promoting Blue Chew. Half them like in their 20s or so, if you will, right, or 30s. Like, bro, how sad is that?
Yeah.
Like, bro, you should be in your prime right now.
Right. You shouldn't have ED. You
should not 25. Have to be promoting that at your age, bro. You know what I mean? That's just my humble opinion. It is what it is. Take it for what it's worth. But this match was fucking amazing. From there, we go to Balls Mahoney versus Masato Tanaka. In once again, an Extreme Rules match. This was apparently the second one of the night. And this honestly was a throwaway match, bro. To calm the crowd down. And again, Mike, you did see the shoot interview, right? That I told you about Balls Mahoney and New Jack.
I didn't get the information.
But you saw the trailer though, right, bro?
Yeah, I saw the trailer. Yeah,
Shit was crazy, right?
yeah, it was crazy. I want to see the interview, the full interview.
But I got you, bro. I got you. But the thing, hey, here's Balls Mahoney, Masato Tanaka, who's amazing in his own right? Former ECW champion, if I'm not mistaken. And again, this was just a throwaway match. Mahoney got the early advantage after throwing a beer can in the face of Tanaka. Tanaka gained advantage after executing a superplex off the top rope. But Mahoney won the match after hitting Tanaka with a steel chair. Match went about 5 minutes and 3 seconds. A good way, I guess, to showcase Balls Mahoney. Wicked chair shot to the head. That's all I can really say. Granted, they don't allow chair shots to the head no more. I know he's no longer with us, but goddamn, imagine in today's wrestling, him throwing that chair shot to the head. Oh my god, the internet would be so pussified.
Yeah.
Oh, he's ruthless. He's not safe. He's this, he's that, and shit like that. If you will. But Mike, your overall thoughts on this match, though, for what it was worth?
Yeah, for what it's worth, it was a throwaway. It's good to not see Tanaka take as much abuse like he did in '05's One Night Stand with Mike Awesome.
Which is funny because they took a jab at Mike Awesome here. They really, really did here. It's like, wow, really?
They did?
They kind of did. That other, they're like that other guy. You got to remember, Joey Styles did not like Mike Awesome. No one did in ECW.
Oh, no, that's crazy. Well, he would later than die of that next year.
You know why though? Right? You know why though, right? They didn't like him.
Well, yeah, because he left. Didn't he leave as he was champion to go to WCW?
Yes. That he in WCW he was that 70s Mike Awesome, which was funny as hell. Anyway, so there was that. But again, bro, Masato Tanaka was amazing. It was a good way to showcase Balls Mahoney for what it was worth. Rest in peace, Balls Mahoney.
All right.
But before we get to the main event, it was time for the main event. But before we got to the main event, we had a special appearance from Eugene. And I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was a kid, I was a fan of Eugene.
Yeah, me too.
I was a sucker. Honestly, bro, I was a sucker for those type of characters. I really, really was as a kid. I'm not gonna lie on that one. But he comes out and he's happy to be there. He's just excited. He's happy to be there in New York, in front of that crowd. Right? He's hardcore. His uncle Eric told him he is as smart as an ECW fan. I wonder if he feels that his nephew is as smart as an AEW fan nowadays. But that's around the point. And again, people are just booing him and all this shit, right? You can imagine.
Right.
And he's reading this poem, right? Reading this fucking poem that no one gives a shit about. Then out comes the Sandman.
Yeah.
He came in through the entrance, right? He didn't come in through the crowd, which was like my only critique. I wish this guy came through the crowd.
I thought he did come through the crowd.
Did he really? Okay, I take it back then.
He came through the crowd.
I take it back. He came out to the crowd. Oh goddamn! Now I feel like fucking Brian Alvarez now. Goddamn, yeah. Morrow commentary was terrible in the Gargano and Ciampa last breath match or final beat match. Yeah, but Morrow didn't do commentary at all. Oh shit! God, how stupid that was, bro. That was stupid. That was stupid as shit. God, apparently he's getting paid $89,000. Apparently,
Brian Alvarez.
Apparently, yeah.
I can do what he's doing
for covering AEW.
I lost respect for him after after those little misspells.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, are you even watching, bro?
You gotta understand, bro. Tony Khan is threw a shitload of his father's money to their way. You gotta just keep it this way, bro. When Shad Khan throws you a shitload of money, what would you do?
I guess so.
Exactly, bro. Main event time. John Cena defending the WWE Championship versus Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam, as we all remember at that time, won the Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania 22. He decided to cash in and tell John Cena that he was going to cash in at One Night Stand, being the first wrestler to hold the Money in the Bank and to let the champion know when he was cashing it ahead of time.
Right.
Granted, that's the way it was, right? And the whole thing that, hey, John Cena is going into Van Dam's environment, right? This hardcore environment. He's not ready for this. And that was the thing about it. That was the build-up to this, right? On the May 22nd episode of Raw, Cena defeated Chris Masters. After the match, Van Dam, like I said, came out and announced that he was cashing in his opportunity for the WWE Championship at One Night Stand. The two exchanged left and right with Masters getting involved. The distraction allowed for Van Dam to toss his briefcase into Cena's face and then hit him with the Van Daminator. The two had a contract signing for their match on the June 5th episode. That's June 5th, 06 episode of Raw. Before signing the contract, Van Dam told Cena that he would win the WWE Championship at One Night Stand and rename it the ECW World Championship. ECW representative Paul Heyman told Cena that the ECW fans can't wait to boo him out of the Hammerstein Ballroom. Cena signed the contract and wished Van Dam luck. Heyman, however, told Cena that he had brought some people from ECW, and at that point, Balls Mahoney, Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and the Sandman came to the ring. Cena attempted to fight them off, but Sandman hit Cena with his Singapore cane. ECW Sabu came out and sent Cena through the table with his Atomic Arabian Facebuster move. Several Raw superstars ran out in an attempt to fight off the ECW originals. Because of this, the match was booked for WWE versus ECW head-to-head special that aired on the USA Network on June 7th, 2006. And there was a match between John Cena and Sabu. The match ended in no contest after ECW newest wrestler The Big Show attacked Cena, sparking the brawl between WWE and ECW wrestlers. So that, Mike, was the build-up to this match, if you will. Right. And I think, again, I can appreciate how WWE back then were building up these matches. I can appreciate it. At least then they put an effort, if you will. Not like today. Not like today, right? And to think, it's a John Cena match. Holy shit. It's a John Cena match. And again, to think, yes, this crowd was anti-Cena. Even before the match began, and again, in keeping with his traditional entrance, right? Cena threw the t-shirt that he wore to the ring out to the crowd, and only to have it thrown back at him several times. Loud, insulting chants were directed at Cena throughout the match, such as "fuck you, Cena," "same old shit," "overrated," and "you can't wrestle." I guarantee you, bro, now when Cena comes out, he gets a positive reaction.
Oh yeah,
those same people now, I guarantee you, appreciate John Cena. I know I do.
Yeah, me too.
To think that he's like literally the best humanitarian WWE's ever had in their company.
Right.
Say what you want about him, right? Oh, the 5 moves, the 6 moves of doom, not putting over the people that he needed to, and all that stuff. But you cannot deny this guy was an amazing humanitarian. No doubt about it. No doubt. Right? The action quickly went to ringside, right? Van Dam got the advantage on Cena with a moonsault press off the steel steps. Van Dam continued his offense when the action went back inside the ring as he placed a chair on Cena's stomach before executing the Rolling Thunder. Cena later managed to get the advantage executing a DDT on a steel chair. Cena went for his finishing move, the FU, but Van Dam blocked the attempt. Van Dam would then set up a table in the corner, but Cena got Van Dam in the STF when Cena refused to break the hold after Van Dam got out of the rope. Cena clotheslined the referee after they had a push and shove. Cena proceeded to deliver Van Dam with the superplex off the top rope and then hitting Van Dam with the steel steps. Replacement referee Nick Patrick officiated the remainder of the match with Van Dam kicking out at 2. As Cena got up, he went to deliver Van Dam an FU. Van Dam grabbed onto the ropes, which leads Cena to deliver Van Dam an FU out to the ring. As Cena turned around, someone in a motorcycle helmet interfered and speared Cena through a table. That person was revealed as Edge, who won a number 1 contenders match to challenge for the WWE Championship at Vengeance on the June 25th episode of Raw. Edge also knocked out Nick Patrick. The Hammerstein Ballroom the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Edge." Van Dam then executed the 5-star frog splash on Cena, but there was no referee as Patrick was knocked out. Paul Heyman ran to the ring and counted the pinfall to 3, giving Van Dam the victory. The ECW locker room came out to the ring to celebrate with Van Dam, but it was unclear at the time whether Van Dam was officially the WWE champion. This was also good. Went about 20 minutes and 40 seconds. But I will also say, too, what I did like, too, believe it or not, Cena's entrance to the ring at the Hammerstein Ballroom. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he knew what he was getting himself into, so he put the belt up in the air with his head down and started walking. As people were just shoving the middle finger, fuck you, this and that. Mike, your thoughts on the match, bro?
Yeah, the match was pretty good. It was a great ending with Edge spearing John Cena into the table. The crowd was just ruthless on John Cena. Probably one of the most greatest wrestling moments to ever happen in that era and now, because fans are so wussified now to the point where they won't even do that anymore. Like, you wouldn't see anybody throw a T-shirt back at a wrestler that they don't like. They'd just keep the T-shirt.
Yes. That's very, very true. And granted, you see that on indie shows, if you will, but nowadays, yeah, you're right, bro. Absolutely, 100%. And that was the show, bro. That was the show. Following up, I guess we call this the aftermath, right, of ECW One Night Stand. On Raw the next day, Paul Heyman addressed the controversy of Rob Van Dam's WWE Championship win. He announced that Vince McMahon ruled Van Dam's WWE Championship win as official, and that the WWE Championship would be rechristened as the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. On the premiere of ECW on Sci-Fi, that's when it will become basically the ECW World title. On the debut episode, though, on June 13, 2016, Heyman presented Van Dam with the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Van Dam said that he opted to keep the spinner belt, sarcastically remarking that this one spins, making him both the WWE Champion and ECW World Heavyweight Champion. Edge, who was the number 1 contender for Van Dam's WWE Championship at Vengeance, appeared and speared Van Dam soon after John Cena came through the crowd and attacked Edge, followed by a punch to Heyman before being chased out by ECW Originals. At Vengeance, Van Dam defeated Edge to retain the WWE Championship, while Cena defeated Sabu in an Extreme Rules lumberjack match. And everything was going good until that one time Van Dam and Sabu were caught with drugs in their car.
Yeah.
And that's what basically fucked over Van Dam's push. Dropped the WWE title, lost the ECW title at the Big Show, and there was that. Overall, though, again, when I look back on One Night Stand 06, I thought overall was good. Did it need to be? No, didn't need to be at all, in my opinion, right? That being said, though, again, for what it was good. Uh, but it's sad to what ECW became, basically a show for developmental talent. It wasn't that extreme that people were expecting, like what you saw on the pay per view. But that
Right.
was WWE's plan, though. That was their vision of ECW. I think if you ever watched the Paul Heyman documentary, right? Tommy Dreamer said it best. What WWE ECW was, it was like you watching your child being raised by the stepfather, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's basically what it was, bro. If you will. But Mike, your overall thoughts, dude, on the entire show before we wrap this up, bro.
The entire show as a whole, it was a thumbs up show. Not as good as '05, but it was. I tell you what, it was better than '07 and '08.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And that's going to wrap up for us. But before we wrap this up, let's let people know next week. As you guys know, this week on NXT, they announced that In Your House will be coming back on June 7th. So because of that, we decided that for next week's Throwback, myself and Big Mike are going to be reviewing In Your House. And because all this, we'll be discussing the In Your House, the first one. In Your House won a premier World Wrestling Federation mega event. So that's what's going to be taking place next week. So we hope that you tune in for that as we continue with the Throwback. And overall, I'm enjoying this, bro. Again, we talked about stuff from WCW, technically ECW, TNA, WWE. We're going all over the place. We're going all over the place with the Throwback. All right. I want to thank all of you for tuning in today, or listening, if you will, whether it be on the YouTube feed, or if not on the podcasting platform where you can listen around the point on the go, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Anchor.fm, or if not, over at okfabe.com. You can follow me on Twitter at HeelSteven. Hit the subscribe button right now if you're watching this on YouTube. Give us the 5-star rating and all that fun stuff. It does help out the podcast also in the long run. All right. Big Mike, let them know, where can they check you out, man, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Big Mike's WRS on Twitter, and subscribe to me on YouTube at Big Mike's Wrestling Recap Show.
And with that being said, guys, this has been another episode of The Throwback. Good day, everyone. Stay safe. Wash your hands.